Hey there, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading, wanting to thank you for stopping by to watch this interview and also make it clear to you that this is not a paid-for promotion. I collect no compensation for the interviews I do here. These companies have been identified as opportunities for investment that could provide an above average return on our investment. This is our opportunity to get to know management, to understand the vision for the company, the strategy they plan to implement, and execute to achieve that vision for the company. So if you learn anything here today and you enjoyed the interview, please do us a favor and subscribe to the Alpha Wolf Trading YouTube channel. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with the story that I absolutely love. Vision Marine Technologies, ticker symbol VMAR on the NASDAQ. I have Alex and Alan, both I've got the chairman of the board and I've got the CEO and the founder and I believe inventor as well. Or you a co-inventor, Alex, or are you actually the full inventor of this system?
I'm a co-inventor and I'm surrounded by a very knowledgeable team. So I won't take all the merit for it, but I've did work and create a part of it with Patrick Bobby in the early 2014 and 15.
Okay, so we already had our initial introduction and interview. It was probably a month or so, 2 months ago. But a lot has happened since we had that first interview. You guys are now a new world record holder. That was one of the things that you were looking forward to, and you just did that in the Ozarks. And maybe you could just give us a little rundown on exactly what happened.
Of course, about 9 months ago, we did partner with Hellcat Powerboats based in Miami, by utilizing one of their legacy boat, was the Hellcat 32-footer, 10 feet beam, wide body. And we were able also to partner with very knowledgeable people such as Sean Torrente, world championship in the F1 boating 3 times, and Patrick Wiseman, who created also a bunch of record worldwide in the speedboat. In less than 8 months. And the challenge was to be faster than Jaguar Racing Team in Williams, who built a 22-footer, 1-seater boat and pushed that little boat on a lake at 88 miles per hour. So our crew worked, and I didn't mind to beat those guys. And we were actually very, very happy with the result of that race in the Ozark. There were over 100,000 people looking at us, and probably some of them were actually thinking that we would fail. And we were on a quarter mile, we were able to do 109 miles per hour without pushing the limit of our system. After the race, we were very happy, and Sean Torrente claimed and actually gave us a good quote that next year will be faster than any gas motorboat with twin outboards. No matter how big they are, even if they're 600 horsepower, and the quarter mile will be faster than anything in the world pushed by gas outboard motors. So that's our challenge for next year, and I'm confident that we'll be there and we'll be better than we were last year. Every year we're doubling our speed, and even this year we triple our speed.
So it's pretty amazing video, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's the sound. I mean, typically when you get one of those boats, speedboats that are going by, I mean, everybody and their brother hears it, right? That thing goes by. It's like, it's just, I don't even really know how to explain it. It's just this whisper almost, right? It's a really cool sound compared to what you would be hearing if it was a gas motor boat, right?
Exactly. And actually people think it's slow because there's no sound the sound is actually making us think that we're going fast. But once you're in the boat, or you actually do, we did install VR cameras in that boat. You could see when Sean pushed the throttle, you could see him in the boat, like in a quarter mile. It's not long. So for a boat, the torque, and it's amazing. And that's only one of the things that we could do with electric outboard motors. So the future of that product is actually going to have a long life. And I can't wait to see Mercury coming along, and Suzuki and Yamaha. We need those guys to actually make it happen. They're going to be showcasing next week some little 5 or 6 horsepower motor, but that's not what we want. We want them to come up with something powerful. The marine industry need that stuff. And the demand is huge. By 2025, over 1.4 million outboard will be sold in North America. We want some electric outboards in that market.
Absolutely. I mean, I just think about the sound quality of not having to hear a bunch of boats, racing like that, right? I mean, it's better for the environment, not just from the gas in the water, but also from just sound, right?
Exactly. And I'm sure very soon you'll start seeing some electric race boats circuit coming. We've been exchanging for years now with P1, who are actually the official race boat sponsors. And we're not there yet, but you could probably see in the next years some electric boat circuit and pro challenge.
Okay, so along with setting a world record, you guys also had some what is it? Testing, what is it? C test that we're going on.
Sea trial. We had validation made by the group Beneteau. Their first boat that they are actually out on the water. It's the boat in the background. It's a 4-wind model. It's the H2. We were presenting in front of their dealership network in August, a few months ago. And they're going out on the market and starting to take deposit at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. October 2022, a few days from now, and people will start seeing them on the water, I could say, for spring 2023. And Beneteau is one of the group. We also have Limestone Boat, who committed themselves for 25 system a few weeks ago. We're also going to be showcasing next week at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show Limestone, and there will also take deposit. So it's moving as we told the people that we were moving forward. Validation is done. And Beneteau, it's only one of their models. They build 180 models, and they have 9,000 boats built per year with 400 dealerships worldwide. These guys are actually very knowledgeable, and they have a big footprint in the dealership like the dealership services worldwide, especially in Europe. And Beneteau is actually very active in the US. They're building boats, 5 brands of boats in Cadillac, Michigan. They have over 1 million foot square of production. They're doing very good. We have also other OEMs that I can't disclaim today that are actually validate at the validation state with our technology as well. So you will see them out at the Miami Boat Show, and they will start taking deposit from their boat with our technology as well.
We should mention also that Group Beneteau is globally known as perhaps the most innovative of all the large OEMs in the world. It's a European company, which is no coincidence because Europe, with respect to electrification, whether it's boats, cars, buses, or trucks, or anything of that nature, is probably 5 years ahead of the United States. And again, not a coincidence that a European-based boat maker sees the value of electric transition for this industry. And again, a very innovative company.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, and more to come, right? So,
yes,
more to come. And then I saw the announcement. What was it? A couple of days ago with the recyclable boat, 100% recyclable boat. That, as I understand it, Alex, you said the boat itself can be recycled 10 times. Right?
Correct. And yeah, it's after owning and working with rentals operation. As I mentioned earlier with Freedom Boat Club, and we also own our own rental operation. It only makes sense to use recycled product. Maintenance is actually almost, there's no maintenance to do on them. They're built in the US, and we're working also to try to sell them on Amazon so more people could utilize them. That's the deal. It's to flood the market with a product that have a 50, 60-year lifetime. And it's a product that everyone can use, and they're made for rentals, and they're made for little families that don't have the money to go boating, but they would love to go boating. They're built like a little paddle boards or pedaloo. Everything's like unbreakable, unsinkable, and it's recycled as well. The beauty of it, it's electric. You just have to plug and use. Sorry.
It's awesome. So you also are in the process of maybe a partnership with 4Ocean, the guys that are helping clean up the oceans from.
We've been exchanging with them for months, and we were waiting to launch the product first. But the discussion now is actually sponsor them each time that a blue boat is sold. As an amount of money would be given to the fundraise for Ocean, and a part of the plastic pellets that they're taking, or the recycled pellets that they're taking out of the ocean, is used in our boats, in the blue boats. So it's coming from the water back to the water with our boats, and recycle again if there's anyone that wants to recycle their boat at some point. And we're offering lifetime warranty on those boats as well. So I think it's a win-win for both parties, for us and for them. And I can't wait to see those, could say, people remove garbage from the ocean with those recycled plastic boats. It's only common sense.
Right, and I would think they'll probably be using your boats to remove the garbage from the ocean, right?
Correct. That's the deal. Yes, that's the partnership.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, you guys are, in my mind, are leading in so many areas, right? And I love the one slogan it seems you have there: changing one waterway at a time, one boat at a time, right?
Yeah, so we're focusing on the marine industry and supporting them by providing them solution. That's our mission.
All right, so let's talk about how you guys are from a business standpoint. How are you guys sitting? It's been a rough market out there.
Yeah, we are fully aware the share price has languished, but again, not to make excuses, and we never make excuses. The market's been very choppy, to say the least. Fed policy seems to be a bit up in the air at this point. We don't know if we're going into recession or not. Historically, the boat industry has been subject to recession, although recent growth figures in the industry continue to be well above pre-COVID numbers. So, and generally speaking, most OEMs are 2-year backlogged. So we think that's pretty sacrosanct at this point. But again, the market is choppy, small caps particularly, and electric transition specifically. So, Warren Buffett always says, do your job and your stock price will follow. That's what we're doing.
Well, listen, the way you just had a nice little run. It's not like the stock your stock has held up much better than I would say most, right? I mean, and it did just have a really nice run.
Especially with anything having to do with electric cars, trucks, buses, school buses, anything electric. I think our relative performance has actually been pretty decent.
No, absolutely. And as you guys, how are you sitting on cash right now?
Well, right now we're sitting with no debt, and as of the last, which is all we can talk about, the last quarterly report, we were sitting with about just under 8 million Canadian of cash. So again, we're okay. The largest issue that we face going forward is not so much cash, because again, we're very unique. We generate revenue. This is a technology company that generates revenue in electric transition. So again, that's thanks to our legacy businesses, I should say, which are our rental operation and our boat building. We'll build how many boats this year, Alex? 50-ish? this
Oh,
year?
more than that, probably 70, 80. And
Okay.
we were focusing on the technology, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. So that generates a considerable amount of revenue, especially relative to our current valuation. So we don't hemorrhage cash. And that, again, I think that's one of the reasons our relative performance has been, in most instances, far better than the average electric transition company. So our biggest challenge is, as everybody else, is supply chain and, generating all of the necessary equipment and components, mostly batteries, in order to fund our operation going forward and making sure that we retain a strong balance sheet. But right now, we're fine. We're okay.
So speaking of, I read the other day that components, materials, China is basically 85% of the world's global supply for batteries. Is that pretty accurate?
Well, it's
It is
not the
batteries and
batteries, it's
chargers.
the components. It's the battery metals
It's the
that you're really
metals.
referring to.
Okay. And
But we're aware, we've been dealing with them since 2014, so we know how they work, and we are actually very informed. We're informed that it takes 6, 7, 8 months to get our parts, so we work according to those time frames, and that's why we are actually explaining and educating the market that it takes 8 to 10 months to get their system. So they start need to take the deposit on boats, and I think the whole industry is like that. The car is the same. You want a new Cadillac truck or a pickup truck, you have to put a deposit, wait 6, 8 months, a year to get your truck. Same thing with a gas outboard for your boats. So the market and the consumers are aware of that. Now they have to put a deposit, they have to wait, and that's the world we're living since COVID. And we have to be smart and we have to be organized. But it's not that the challenge is not really that. It's more to educate the market than getting parts.
got it. So let me ask you a question. Since all of this stuff that the world record, has the phone been ringing more for you guys?
The phone didn't ring more, but the agreement most of the agreement got signed after the races with OEMs that we were exchanging for the past years. Let's say we were exchanging and we designed their boats with our system, but they were on the edge of signing the agreement of moving forward and validation, doing the validation test. So most of the could say customers were actually 80% became committed after the exposure and the proof of our concept at the Ozark. It's people thought, when talking electric boats, especially in the US, people think about those little Duffy boats doing 6 miles per hour with carts. Are seriously powerful and safe as well. So we're getting our system also certified with some real certification from the marine industry. This is another thing that's very important for us. Certification and safety is the first thing that we have in mind when we're working with our technology.
Okay, and who is that certification coming through?
NMMA through the also CSA and UL and CE for European market as well. Same thing as any requirement in the electrification of a house or a car. So we're following the government standard and rules into the electrification.
No, that's fantastic. Alan, how many shares total outstanding?
It hasn't changed, Tim. 8.4 million primary shares, just over 10 million fully diluted shares. So given that the management and the board of this company owns a considerable amount of the shares, we are very sensitive to dilution. And that being said, we have actually maintained our balance sheet and our share capitalization, I think, far better than most. And again, with just a shade over 8 million primary shares outstanding, I think that's highly unusual for a company, especially a company in electric transition.
Yeah,
the operating leverage is quite high.
All right. So as I look at your chart, I mean, you did have a long-term trend line from 2020 down to 2022, but you broke that long-term trend line, and you broke that back in July, right? And now you're kind of coming back down to an area where this was actually a very good area of potential support right here. And it looks like that support is holding up. So you came down, you kissed it, and now you're starting to move back up. And I personally think that at these levels right here, right now, you know, what's your risk reward? And if you look at the move that it just had, what was this big volume spike for? I can't recall what that was that moved. I think it was
The recent spike, are you talking about, Tim?
Yeah, the recent one. I think it was the announcement of the partnership.
That was our Group Beneteau announcement,
Yeah,
and
that
we
was
thought that was appropriate for the company to be recognized for that achievement.
right. You know, and I look at everything that's been accomplished, and I look at the overall environment of the markets. I don't think, especially for small micro caps that are still in good, everything has gotten thrown out with the bathwater, everything. And it doesn't matter what the companies have been doing. It just doesn't seem to matter, right? That news doesn't matter. But I can say this, a lot of the small and micro cap names are now in this consolidation phase. They're no longer, you're not seeing that precipitous drop anymore, right? It's like, for a lot of these names, it looks like they're in consolidation mode. I'm looking at your stock, and it's at an area of potential support. You've broken the long-term trend. And what do stocks do? They stair step up. They don't go straight up. They stair step up. And I would say that this is a really good place to consider, if you're not in the stock, taking a starter position. I'm not telling anybody to buy the stock. That's not what I do. All I do is present the story. And this is a very compelling story. These guys are, I believe, leading the industry to a greener, better, safer industry, right? This is, and you guys are just getting started. There's more OEMs, I'm sure, to come, right? And it looks like you're not stopping with the innovation either.
That's true, Tim. That there are other companies that we've been speaking with for a while that I think were very impressed by what Alex and his team were able to accomplish at the Lake of the Ozarks shootout. And just as a brief aside, when Alex had mentioned probably over a year ago now that our goal was to exceed 100 miles an hour in an electric boat, we got more than a few Snickers. Nobody's laughing anymore. So I think that's, as Alex mentioned, that tended to put a fire on the situation with some of the OEMs that we've been dealing with. And I think some more partnerships will fall out of that. We've been talking to a few for quite a while. And, you know, this is an industry that we're essentially inventing. This is the performance electric transition industry. There is no performance electric transition industry without Vision Marine. So that's not brag, that's fact. So, you know, it's not something that's going to blossom overnight, and we're not going to be $100 a share tomorrow. But we feel highly, highly confident that with the OEMs that we're chatting with, as well as the OEMs that we already have on board. And again, what Alex mentioned, I think bears repetition, is that Group Beneteau is going to roll our product out across their entire brand portfolio where appropriate, obviously. They also manufacture very, very large boats that, you know, is not appropriate for our technology. But for the most part, they have 180 different brands. So, you know, I don't know if it's going to be over 5 brands, 50 brands, or 100 brands that we're going to eventually see our technology. But we're not talking about selling 10, 20, 30 motors. And again, with our operating leverage, given our share capitalization, we think the upside is quite compelling.
Right. And we're talking, you also have partnerships. I want to reemphasize, you've got McLaren that actually is manufacturing the motors for you guys. right?
Yeah, and the only thing I want to say about McLaren, well, everybody knows McLaren, but we actually proactively reached out to third-party manufacturers, and McLaren was the first name, literally the first name that we called, given their history in automotive and the fact that they also, even currently, supply many parts and components to Honda and Suzuki and companies like that. So they know the marine industry. But again, this helps us preserve our balance sheet because we don't have to build a factory or a series of factories to satisfy our demand. When that happens, you have a lead time of significant negative cash flow. You have to generally go into some form of indebtedness in order to finance that, which we really don't want to do. And generally speaking, you'll need very significant pre-revenue, or I should say pre-technology revenue, because we do produce revenue, but pre-technology revenue would need to be financed, and it's got to be either with debt or equity. And we don't really want to be in a position, or we didn't want to be in a position where we would have to build a factory for $50 or $75 million, and maybe a few of them, and finance that even partially with equity, which would, we think, sully our balance sheet, and debt, obviously, or sully our share capitalization, I should say, and debt, which would obviously leverage our balance sheet, which the board of the company is just not very keen to do. So this allows us to have what I would term as an asset-light balance sheet, and really accentuate the operating leverage that this company can deliver.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. So what's McLaren's capacity? I mean, as far as if you got, all of a sudden started getting some orders for 3,000 outboard motors.
They can produce 18,000 motors or systems, powertrain systems annually.
And it's
If we did
locations.
a tenth of that, we'd be thrilled, because the impact on the share price would be quite consequential.
All right. So they can handle it then.
Oh yeah, they can handle it.
All right. What are you guys excited about in the next 6 to 12 months?
Seeing orders coming in from OEMs. Now we're supporting them in their boat shows, but actually now the next step is having a few more OEMs after validating their system with our system with their boats, moving forward with orders. We want to see orders coming in, and we want to show our shareholders that we have real orders coming in with some significant incomes. So that's what we've been telling people, and that's what's going to be happening in the next months.
All right. What are you guys worried about in the next 6 to 12 months?
Cancer, health issues. What else? Life is good, and we deliver, we do what we do, and we have a solid crew that works hard, and we all work in the same direction. So we're going to keep proving that what we say we do what we say. The rest is actually in the hands of God for the health, and that's the only problem we can have in life. It's health. The rest, you work hard, you're going to get good result.
I'll be a little more specific. I would say that years down, even next year into 2023, it's again my fear, and again this is a general fear. It's not a fear specifically for Vision Marine. It's just Fed policy, and soft landing versus hard landing, recession or serious or no recession, or a recession, a serious recession, or like I said, a soft landing. Eventually, that will eat into discretionary items to purchase, such as automobiles, boats, but that's down the line. And again, we're not selling millions of these a year. We don't need to sell tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of units in order to generate very substantial net income. So that's my I guess my macroeconomic uncertainty and fear, but I think that's down the road a piece, and by that time we will be hopefully a firmly established company selling a considerable amounts of units on an annual basis, and I don't think it would really impact Vision Marine as much as it would a Tesla, for example.
You know, in thinking about it too, because of COVID, we already had, I mean, there were no boats that were being sold, right? For through COVID. I mean, it was tough.
No, it's the opposite, Tim.
Oh, it was.
It's the opposite. Yeah. I mean, everybody was afraid to travel. Airfare was, I mean, airline travel has trickled down to nothing. And everybody was, and this is actually seems to be the new normal, which is the CEO of Winnebago, I guess about a year ago, was talking about the advent of staycations being here to stay. And we see that also as something that's endemic within the industry right now, the boating industry. People didn't want to take the chance of getting sick and traveling and being with strangers, and they wanted to spend time with their families. So what do? Instead of traveling over the summer, you buy a boat and you go out on a lake or a river or some waterway, and you stay with your family, and it's safe and it's fun. This is why boat sales had skyrocketed during COVID.
Really?
And those sales now have flattened out, obviously, because COVID is over. But the sales currently are still well ahead of pre-COVID levels. So that indicates to me that this staycation concept, well, I shouldn't even call it a concept. Staycation is no longer a concept, it's reality. And we expect that trend to continue.
Excellent.
But we're aiming for 0.5% of the market. So even if the market is dropping a bit, over 400,000 outboards sold a year. Let's try to get at least 0.5%. It's going to be very, very good for Vision Marine Technology. But the problem that both sales are increasing, but both delivery are not increasing because they don't have parts.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. It's kind of what you're reading in the paper now about Ford Motor Company sitting with lots of thousands of trucks that are awaiting parts and components that they can't sell.
Jesus. So the supply chain constraints are still rampant, at least in the boating industry.
Very, very much so. But again, we're unique in that well over 90% of the parts and components that we utilize are sourced in North America. So the biggest issue is securing batteries within your supply chain.
Got it.
But we have that essentially. We have that covered because we have two primary suppliers that we don't have any indication that we will have that problem.
And I think Alex had mentioned earlier too that they're looking at, some of these battery manufacturers are looking at expanding into North America, right? So in the next 12 to 18 months, those issues that you're experiencing now should go away.
Yes, we agree with that, but it'll take some time, but yes, we agree with that.
Okay. All right. I mean, for me, this is regardless of what the economy does, recession. I mean, if we do go into a recession, this will be the most televised recession in the history of mankind, because everybody and their brother seems to know that we're going. I mean, the cabbie knows we're going into a recession. So usually when everybody is on the same page, that the economy and the markets tend to do the opposite of what everyone thinks is very obvious. The other thing I would say is that, the market is supposed to be pricing 6 months from now, not what is happening today. So, we could be in a point where every headline you see is horrible, layoffs, and the market could do the exact opposite of what all of the news is telling you, right? That is very common to have happen. So
agreed, Tim. Good point.
I look at this as and especially from what I'm seeing from a lot of just what the charts are telling me from a lot of the small caps, like I said, a lot of these companies, some of them are down 90%. They're not going out of business. That I can assure you. So they have 10% left to go down. That's it. A lot of these companies are way overdone to the downside. And unless this is the end of the world and, nuclear bombs are going to be dropping from the sky, I think this too shall pass, and we will get back to, to normalization, and then the companies that have managed to, stay strong, keep a clean balance sheet like VMAR, I think those companies are going to get rewarded, because I don't think you've been rewarded for what you've accomplished so far. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and we agree with that last comment, by the way.
Yes, sir.
So, look, if you don't want to take a position, at the very least, put this thing on your radar and go to, I've got their investor alert email address. Go to their email address and sign up to keep an eye on what's happening with this. Anytime they have a press release or an SEC filing, it'll get sent directly to your email. Just keep an eye on the story. I think it's a feel-good story, right? It's a better for the planet, the environment story. The Four Ocean partnership, I think, is fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of good here, and this is the kind of company I think you could feel good about supporting. So that's where I'm at, and maybe in I got a feeling you guys are going to have more news announcements.
No, we
Maybe
can't really talk about it, but we would certainly hope that we'd make additional progress. Yes.
Yeah. So when you guys feel as though you've got something significant, let's do this again, huh?
Sounds like a plan.
With pleasure.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. Hold on one second. I'm gonna cut this off. Hey there, all you stock market junkies. Thanks for tuning in to yet another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Trading. Today we had Vision Marine Technologies, ticker symbol VMAR, Alex Mongeon and Alan Gaines, CEO and founder and chairman of the board. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, why not give us a follow? Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.